that I started to learn, love, and appreciate the cultures that I was immersed in.
Yeah.
Because he was like, what are you listening to at the moment? And then he took my musical interest right there, and we did what I often refer to on my show as the peel back session. You know, where it's like, well, okay, so you're listening to, let's say, Phil Collins, for example, right? Okay, so I'm listening to Phil, and he's saying, but you know that Phil was influenced by the Atlanta Horns, and you know the Atlanta Horns played with so-and-so, and you know that so-and-so played with Aretha Franklin, and Aretha Franklin was influenced by Billie Holiday, and Billie Holiday, and it back it goes. And so I started listening to all this stuff, and that's where my drumming came in.
I remember that.
You know, my affection with rhythm and understanding rhythm and on all the different rhythms of the world, you know, from Brazilian samba to Afro-Caribbean calypso. Do you know what I mean? You know, and obviously then I really got involved with the hip hop side of things and learning the syncopation and the break beat, and then I was just like, then I went the other way. Then I went the other way, and I was a white boy pretending to be black. Do you know what I mean? Because I was like, I got fully immersed in it. Not like, you know, string vests and Carl Carney jeans, that kind of thing. Not quite on that respect, but my swagger changed a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Not to say that I was accepted. And let's not get it twisted.
Yeah, we were still like,
I was still on the shit list.
Yeah.
But when I would speak with family members and so on and so forth, and they would play certain tracks, and I'd be like, oh, I know that track, and you know, and it was like, so I gained certain social capital from that experience. So that's the reason why I say it was negative, but it was also positive, those experiences, because it brought me out and it made me the person who I am today. You know, so.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Johnson was
legendary.
He was legendary, and I remember year 7, I never done music lessons per se in primary.
Right.
And we played a song, you probably remember this, but we played a C-note groove. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And that was, it was, at the time, you had Grange Hill, they just changed their theme song from the one that they normally have, the funky one. The funky one with the funky bass line.
Yeah,
with the funky bass line. And to the C-note groove. And this guy, on a Friday, last period or whatever it was, that we used to have music. Oh my God, I swear. We used to play xylophones, right? Xylophones. And at that point, when I first started, I was like, xylophone?
You can make a xylophone funky?
Yeah, that xylophone. What am I playing a xylophone for? Alright. But then a whole class playing xylophones, a couple playing keys, him then playing keys himself.
Yep.
Oh my days. It was just like, it was...
He introduced me to steel pan. I learned how to play steel pan because of him. You remember we had all those red steel pans all over the place? That music room was just a steel pan room. It was everywhere. They had the big tenor steel pans and the timpani steel pans, and it was just like, oh, this is what this is.
Yeah.
And he taught me how to play steel pan. Do you know what I mean? Which, you know,
this is the thing. This is the thing. I didn't get to spend as much time with him as much as like he did. People like Solomon.
Don't be hating, bro.
No hate. People like Solomon and that, you know.
Yes,
like, you know,
Solomon.
There's a couple of about 4 or 5 other people who really
the
got
original
his time.
Rasta.
Yeah. Who got his time, and I remember seeing you through the glass. I remember in the drumming room seeing you through the glass, looking right, he's in there again. But Mr. Johnson was amazing. He used to say to us, don't practice what you're good at, practice what you're not good at.
Yes.
And I remember I'll never forget that. And it made me just see my schooling in a different way. Do you know what I mean? And I wasn't the most greatest academic student ever. But
Preach.
Yeah, definitely one of the greatest. But later on in life, it's helped me kind of go, okay, let me practice this, let me try this out, and let me not be afraid to try something that I'm not good at. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
And doesn't even, I might not make it, but at least I've tried to. Do you know what I mean? I've tried to improve it, or tried to be, or even tried to do it, as we were speaking before, innit?
Yeah, absolutely.
So okay, so you found your thing now. Yeah, you found your thing. You said you still want accepted.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I think a little bit more though.
Yeah, probably
a little bit more.
Yeah, because I was there. I just existed. Do you know what I mean? I existed as opposed to being accepted.
Okay.
You know
What was your? How would you define your mental state?
Wow, rough. I had contemplated suicide a couple of times.
Wow.
I had contemplated suicide a couple of times.
Wow.
My gran caught me with a belt around my neck.
Serious?
Yeah. I was ready to end it. Because I just couldn't take it anymore.
And what year was this, you think?
That was year 10.
Year 10.
Year 10.
Serious?
Yeah, year 10. Straight up.
You just couldn't take the...
I just couldn't do it anymore. I was just like, I was done.
Wow.
I was done with it. Done with it. And she's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, I was like literally getting ready to tie it to the back of the door.
Yeah.
And
wow.
And I was like, I just broke down. I was in tears, absolute tears, saying that I can't. This is just too much. It's just too much. And she's like, if you do this, they've won. They've won. And all you'll be is just you'll be a name read out in assembly. And they've won.
Wow.
And I was just like, so I had a good old cry. I remember having a good old cry, getting it out, snot and phlegm everywhere. It was a mess. I remember I had a good old cry, feeling a lot better about myself, because she definitely, she's like, think about where you've come from, think about where you are, think about what you're going to do. You're going to be, you're going to be successul. You know all the kind of things that you want to say to a kid so that they don't die. It's just like, you want to make sure that this is not that they're okay, and that when you leave the room, they're like not going to kill themselves. Do you know what I mean? So anyway.
So you had that moment with your gran.
Yeah.
After that moment, did she look out for you? Did she put cotton wool around you? What was she like?
No. There was actually that's a really good point. That it wasn't. There was no kind of cotton wooling. It was like, and it wasn't like, oh, this is something we shall never speak of. I think she just kind of kept her beady eye on me, type kind of thing. If she could see that there was a change in my demeanour and my behaviour and all the rest of it, then she would. She would be on it.
Be on it, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But she wasn't like, oh, let me come and drop you to school type kind of thing. Because you're like almost 15 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How's that going to go down? Like, life isn't bad enough for me? You're going to go and drop me to school now?
Yeah.
So it was never like that. But yeah, there was definitely those points where she was just like, let's just keep an eye on him. Make sure he's okay.
Yeah. Wow. So, okay, so so you were living with your gran, or you?
No, living with my gran and my grandfather. So.
Alright, so you was with your mum's in.
I wasn't living with my mother. My mum was living elsewhere.
Right. Okay.
But it was my maternal. This was my maternal grandmother.
Right. Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
And so, because you went, this is what I'm trying to piece together. So you went in Kennington with your mum, maternal mum.
Maternal grandmother.
Maternal grandmother. Oh,
Yep.
I'm with you now. With you now. And then you was with your then grandfather at that time.
No. So my maternal grandmother and my maternal grandfather. That's who I lived with all throughout the time. All throughout my time. Through my whole time.
Okay,
up until I turned 18.
Right. Okay.
When I moved and got my own place. Yeah.
Okay. So you had that big moment.
Yeah.
Okay. You came back to school.
Yep.
Next day.
Yep.
Did the way that you were changed?
A little bit.
To what extent?
Angry.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And how did you receive that?
For me, anger became my tool. Anger became my tool. Silent rage. Do you know what I mean? Because I was never outwardly angry. I was angry on the inside.
Yeah. And angry because why they
angry because they got me to that point. Angry because that I had been pushed to that point, and that I had let it get to that point. So I was really my anger wasn't directed at people; it was directed more at me. Like, how could I let that happen? Do you know what I mean? How could I really like get to a point where suicide's is a great thing, but you only get to do it once. Do you know what I mean? It's and it's not until you've done it that you really you'd like think to yourself, there's got to be another way. There's got to be another way to work through this, right? And it took a long time. It took a long time, and you know, and learning how to channel that anger into other avenues. But yeah, I went back the next day, angry as fuck, and just continued the ride. Do you know what I mean? You know, I just, at that point I was like, well, I haven't got long now. And you know it's bad when you're in year 10 and you got year 7s that are fucking with you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because they got brothers who are in your year.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, you can't touch them. Because you know, if I think about it, you know, if I was on a bus today and some kid started some shit, I'm going to kick him in the face. Do you know what I mean? You know you can do that. You know you've got that power. That you could, like, you know, that you could do something to change that instantly. But when you're year 10 and a year 7 is fucking with you because their elder brother said, see that kid there? He will not do nothing to you. He will not do a damn thing to you. Go on, and fuck with him. Do you know what I mean? Because if he hits you, if he does anything, I'll have him. So it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So
I'm intrigued. So I'm intrigued. What was I like towards you? So I want to know.
Right, okay.
So I want to know. What was I like?
You weren't right. Okay. It's almost like you're massaging your any kind of any bad feelings you may.
Not necessarily that. I want to. I've always wanted to know, like, you know, in terms of, because I'm going to say I was golden towards you, because I definitely had my times where I would have said certain things.
Yeah. I mean, you had your moments.
Yeah.
So, you know, you had your moments, but you weren't the worst. You definitely weren't the worst. You know, had you been, we wouldn't be doing this. Do you know what I mean? You know, and I think I mean, we had the reunion we were talking about like about 11 years ago. Right? Yeah. And there were people around that table who I never really thought that I would be able to hold a conversation with. Wow. Let alone want to be around. Do you know what I mean? And but it was all love. That was the main thing about it. It was like we all grew. We had all grown.
In different ways.
And all in some had grown outwards, some had grown upwards. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was all love, you know. And it just kind of made me think that your perspective that you have when you are young, how radically different it becomes when you're older. It's a paradigm shift, complete paradigm shift. You know, it's because you're caught up on things because you don't know anything about the world when you're 15 years old. Even though you think you do, you think you've got a beat on it, you know nothing. And I keep saying this to my own kids. It's like, I think I know stuff now, and I'm 40 years old. Yeah, but I thought I knew stuff when I was 30, and I know far more now at 40 than I did at 30, and I know far more at 30 than I did at 20. But when you reach these like pivotal moments of quote unquote your chronological milestone, you don't know dick. You really don't know dick, and it's not until that you get to these moments. Not everybody. That sounds a bit like a generalization because not everybody can get there. Because some people do have stumbling blocks in their way. You know, there's some things that they can't get over. Do you know what I mean? I mean, what if I'd have still been that 11-year-old kid just dropping N-bombs everywhere? Do you know what I mean? What if I'd have maintained well, I don't think I'd be alive for very long, But if I'd have maintained that position, and if there was no chance of me, you know, either finding balance or accepting the fact that that's wrong, you know, it could be we could be having a completely different conversation. I'd be walking around with a swastika tattooed on my chest. It's true. Do you know what I mean? You know,
I have visions of American History X in my brain.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Easily created by the same thing. Being marginalised in that situation.
Bite the pavement.
Yeah. God. Because I feel like I figured out by year 9 that in my mind, I feel like you had enough. In my mind, I do remember. I felt like he's had enough now. Do you know what I mean? Because I did it out of my own fun. You know, I did it out of my own fun because I felt like your shoes were dorky. And your ears look funny. So for me it was like, and he talks this way. Why is he talking that way? Talk normally. Do you know what I mean? So for me it was my own personal I didn't hate you. I think I hated the like you said, the I'm better than you part of yourself.
Hated what I represent.
Yeah, I hated that part.
Yeah.
That's the part I was like, I almost want to say to you, you don't need to do that, but obviously I didn't have the words sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like I said, I would have benefited